Not only has Bandai announced the dates for the first Fusion World tournaments, but we also have a date for the client. Hey everybody, Espira, and I am so jazzed about the recent announcements from Bandai that we got this Friday. For those of you guys who don't know, Fridays are usually when the international websites for all Bandai games kind of update, so usually it's when we get a news dump. But we also got social media confirmation of the release date of the Fusion World digital client. And while I don't think it's shocking, it is absurd the amount of comments I get in all my videos saying, hey, do you know when digital is coming out? And for the longest time, it was a no, I really don't. And it's so nice now that we have actual confirmation of when we should expect it to come out. Like I said in the intro, alongside that, we also have the tournaments. So we're gonna go ahead and check out that kind of information to give you a better idea of what to look forward to in regards to the first 3-ish months of Fusion World's release. Kicking it off, we're going to look at the social media where they made their initial announcement. This is about not only the Fusion World release for the client, but also product distribution stuff, and then we can look at their events as well. So to kick it off, thank you for all your excitement over the release of the Dragon Ball Super card game Fusion World physical version. It's our greatest pleasure to bring you a new and exciting Dragon Ball Super card game experience. We've received multiple reports from stores that were unable to procure the requested quantity of booster pack and starter deck products, which this is always weird to me because they get pre-ordered and then it's like, but how do you not print enough based on the pre-orders that you made like 5 months ago? Regardless, including sufficient quantities of starter decks for pre-release event participants, which naturally means that a lot of people are playing sealed events instead. We sincerely apologize to our players and stores regarding this matter. Today, we're pleased to announce we're currently accepting distributor orders for Wave 2 of Fusion World Booster Pack Set 1 and 2. So it is nice to know that they're actually getting ahead of it and making sure that Set 2 print run actually has an adequate amount. And Starter Deck 1 through 4, which makes sense because Starter Deck 5 isn't until Set 3 when they introduce Black. With an expected arrival date between April and May, Bandai is making every possible effort to provide our distributors, stores, and players with sufficient product qualities in a timely manner. And this is a big deal, right? Because this is a conversation piece that has been massive with One Piece over the past year, especially as the game keeps growing and it just seems like product demand is really tough at the moment. So in that regard, I think they really want to get ahead of it with Fusion World and be like, hey, it's not going to be exactly like One Piece. We're going to make sure to try to do as best as we can to actually make sure we get products in people's hands. Now, if they could do something about the tournament caps hitting in 10 seconds, that'd be great, but that's a whole other topic. We ask the cooperation of all stores to submit product pre-orders to distributors before deadlines to ensure an appropriate production quantity leading up to more available for all stores upon release. We thank our stores in advance for their kind assistance in this matter. It is just the beginning of Fusion World, and we're looking forward to bringing you so much more very soon. Just zoom in right here. Please look forward to the release of the digital version scheduled for February 29th. And this is so exciting because we are at a point now where there were a lot of speculations about mid-March. That conversation has been kind of going around across the Bandai sphere. There were specs of a simultaneous release with the physical card game because a lot of the Japanese promotions said simultaneous release, but then alternatively the English promotions all said around release. Now look, I don't mind the delays. I think anything that they do in regards to making the experience better on the upfront, of course I've already done my full review of how the beta was, so things like UI cleanups or anything like that I think are be very much welcome. But to know that we only have about 12 days as of the moment of this video's publishing is awesome and something I'm incredibly looking forward to. I think giving everyone that 1 week and a bit timeline to be able to get their hand on product, being able to get those codes and then submit it is a great way to make sure that players visit their local game store if they want to get product in their hand and they want to get their first taste of the game and then pivot and transition over into the digital client. I am hopeful that the digital client will have a more simultaneous release with the release of new sets, but for now I think in terms of the initial release of the game altogether, I'm perfectly content with the release of this game in a couple of weeks. Would I like it now? Sure, but I can handle a 12-day wait period. Then they close off. Thank you for your patient support. We once again apologize regarding this product issue. Same old kind of notes in terms of Bandai games at this point in time. That's what we know about the product release. They're going to be making more product for Set 1, Set 2. That's great. Love to hear that, especially with the fact that they're getting ahead of it on Set 2. Means that hopefully we're not going to be in a world where boxes are insanely above MSRP on release. Very excited about that. And then when we turn around and look at the tournament stuff. So we do have these celebration events. These are your store level events for the release of the game. Every shop should do them. Some of them do them like pre-releases where it's like a sealed event. Some of them are going to do it like constructed. So if you are planning on participating in a celebration event for your store, make sure to contact them and see what specifically they are doing. It is not strictly a pre-release event, and so it might differ from format to format depending on your shop. That said though, if we look here, The event period is between February 23rd to March 15th, over essentially a 3-week period. Recommended format is best of one. That's going to be the standard for Dragon Ball in non-top cut situations. And then application method on BTCG Plus, go look it up there if you have a shop around you. In terms of the pricing, there are the gold Gokus and Vegetas. And I actually have these on the side because I actually played in and top 4'd Bandai's first event at Battle Hour. So if I can just get a little bit of a close up here. And these cards are absolutely gorgeous, very shiny, very golden. I know that throws off some people, but honestly, in person, these cards are incredibly good looking. So I'm a big fan of these, and the fact that these are acquirable for participating in your store tournaments is something that is a very nice plus. Then on top of that, you actually have the FBO1 serial card, which is really cool. And it's actually something that we got at Battle Hour as well for topping that event. And it is a code that gives you 24 booster packs, which that is like awesome. So like, I love that feeding into the digital client, and codes make it so easy to give additional pricing. I'm looking into what I can do for community events on my side. And the fact that codes that doesn't have all the additional issues of like shipping and all like that and international, the fact that I don't have to worry about any of that is so very welcome. And in that regard, 24 packs is a great start to your digital collection. Otherwise from there, it's nothing too crazy. If you top 4, you get an additional energy marker. Do note that these packs have a random chance of having a gold energy marker on them, which is very cool. If you participate, you get a Goku and Vegeta, which is nice because they are promos. And I think these events are the only ways to get these. I'm not entirely sure. And then finally, you get the promotion pack, which has 1 of 5 unique cards, of which I think the best ones in here are like the red Awakened Goku and the green Crit Broly, but there's nothing game warping in there, so it's fine. And then obviously you get an additional energy marker. But in terms of premier events, they finally released what the road mapping would look like in terms of premier championship tournaments. And these are the ones that will qualify you for Nats and then beyond that world. So here we have the roadmap, and do note it says physical version, which means at some point there may be a digital circuit that they just haven't announced yet. Fingers crossed that that means using the digital client and not specifically webcam, because if that's the case, I would be a very unhappy boy. But from what we see here, there's going to be the first wave of regionals between May and July. There's going to be the second wave of regionals between August and October. And on top of that, store regionals return. And the way that these work, usually they're store tournaments in which if you have at least 8 players, the top 1 gets an invite to Nats. And then if you have like 16 or above, there's like 2 invites. I'm not entirely sure what the format's going to look like for that. They haven't announced that specifically, but just know that there will be ways from the looks of it that you can play at your store to get yourself an invite to Nats. Not much else there. There is a little coming soon stuff. So I guess there's more details that are going to be about online regionals, but not something we have to worry about now. We do, however, have the announcements for the first few IRL tournaments that are currently happening. I don't love their dates, to be honest. The period for these events are between May 1st and July 31st, which effectively means at this time, we don't have any events for set 1. If you play any other Bandai games, there are other tournaments that aren't tied to the championship season that helps substantiate having more premier events for the game. One Piece has their treasure cups, and then Digimon has their ultimate cups, I think, or something of the sort. And we have those too. They're called Ultimate EXs, I think, for Dragon Ball. And we're not getting any of those. At the moment, I think they've announced 3 in Japan, 1 in Tokyo, 1 in Osaka, and I think 1 in Hokkaido maybe, but I could be wrong about that. But nevertheless, it's a shame to see that they're getting those in Japan and we're not getting essentially any tournament play for the entirety of the set 1 release, mostly from the looks of it. So if we go down, best of 1 Swiss, and then best of 3 Top Cut, which that's cool. And then we get to the event schedules. We have 2 right now announced in North America and 1 in Oceania. So the first one is Carta Magica in Montreal, and I'm so excited for us to have events back in Canada. We haven't had a Montreal event in a really long time, if I can recall, even from back in my master's days. So the fact that we're returning to Montreal is something that's very exciting to me. And that's happening on May 11th. And that's particular because that's around the release date of set 2. Now, this isn't confirmation, but I've asked, and it is unlikely that set 2 will be legal for this tournament because it's too close to the release date. Don't think this is final word, but this is my understanding of what's likely to happen, which is weird, right? We're about to get a new set, which means the format's going to rotate over, but right before that happens, we're going to have a tournament in set 1. And this is just one of those things where I think Bandai fumbles the bag with the timing of tournaments and the release dates of their product. I don't know why these had to be so close. I wish this was earlier, so it didn't clash with the release of the second set, but so be it. It is what it is. Realistically looking, this is probably going to be a set 1 tournament, and I don't know the hard release date for set 2, but odds are the PPG event may fall in line with the Set 2 event. I'm not entirely sure, but that's the kind of things to keep in mind as Set 2 pivots over in May. Australia kind of falls to the same issue where their tournament is also on May 12th. In terms of the pricing, I'm not gonna lie, participation pricing and like things that break into top 16 are pretty decent. Everything after top 16 is kind of a joke, but we'll talk about that. Participation, you get your championship pack wave 1, and you get 3 packs of those, which is nice. I don't know what cards are in here. I don't think they've announced what cards those are yet. So we'll see those when we get closer to the date. But usually championship cards, when we're looking at One Piece, when we're looking at Masters previously, are very impactful cards. I would not be surprised if these are meta warping in some way. Energy markers, which is great. Love more ways to be able to get energy markers. And then the promo pack 02, which we don't know what that looks like. We know what promo pack 01 is. Promo pack 02, who knows? In terms of top 64, you get a championship pack wave 1 pack, which is nice. You get an additional one of those, and you get a top 64 alt art. Top 32, you get a top 32 alt art, and then top 16, you get a serial Goku. So that's great pricing in terms of reaching everything up to top 16. And if the value on the secondary market of these prizes scale, I wouldn't say like One Piece, but similar to One Piece, it'll make these events very much worth going to. On top of that, as top 16, you get your finals invite, which means you're able to go to Nats, and then the championship sleeves. And the championship sleeves are, maybe it's a typo, I'm not entirely sure. But the fact that top 16 get 20 sleeves is kind of a slap in the face. I understand that in One Piece, you have a Dawn deck. In Digimon, you have an Egg deck. But Dragon Ball doesn't have any of that. You have a singular energy marker, and outside of that, it's just a deck. So the fact that top 16 get 20 sleeves, top 4 gets nothing but an additional 20 sleeves, and then top 2 get an additional 20 sleeves, it's like, okay, if you top 2 a regional, then you're going to be allowed to fully sleeve your deck with your top participant sleeves, which, I mean, okay. This is like the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Maybe it's a typo, I don't know. I just think this is ridiculous and funny and whatever. And then in terms of the champion, you get a playmat, which, like, sure, fine. I wish it was just more, right? Like, I do like that if you top 16, you get essentially the heft of most of the pricing, especially when you consider that these are going to be Swiss only tournaments for the most part. So all the rankings past top 16 are RNG anyways, outside of the champion, who's hopefully undefeated. The fact that there's no real way for me to be able to decide who definitively is top 2, 4, and even then top 8, because of the fact that it's all RNG based on Swiss rankings and there's no top cut, even though they say there's top cut, but we haven't had any announcements of the fact that these are 2-day events that actually allow it to be a top cut at the moment. So, but it still feels iffy. And don't get me wrong, it's easy to make fun of this when you look at 20 sleeves per pack. Hopefully, again, it's just a typo, but at the end of the day, I don't love what's happening here, but I feel good about everything that's happening here that should make it feel worthwhile to be able to attend these events. In terms of getting into these events, I don't know, right? It is tough to say what the popularity of Fusion World is going to be, but if it's anything like One Piece, I recommend getting into the registration the moment it opens to give you the best chance to be able to get into the event and go from there. So I think all of these events open on the 25th. So I recommend you guys go on the Bandai website, go to these registration links, and make sure that you have those registration sites on lock for the 25th when they open up in the morning to make sure you're able to lock down your spot, because who knows how this is going to go. All in all, I'm incredibly excited about the current news that we got, between the fact that we finally have tournaments announced, the fact that the digital client is going to be able to come out, so we're going to be able to grind games on there and just have a good old time over there, which again, February 29th coming up. So all in all, I'm excited about what's coming down. Do I wish that there was more going on with set 1? Yeah, it's kind of a shame that we're seeing Japan getting these Ultimate EX battles and we're just kind of stuck here kind of twiddling our thumbs waiting to see what we get. So it's a bit limp in regards to the release of a first set, but at the very least, there are celebration events that kind of get people excited on that front, even though people are using those as like a second pre-release more than a constructed event. So either way, we'll see what community events kind of prop up from there. But at the moment, I think there's a very exciting kickoff to what will hopefully be a very successful launch of a brand new game. So that's our news update for the week. If you guys want more content, you guys can check it out there. Are you going to a pre-release this weekend? Then do I have a pre-release guide for you? And with that, I'll catch you guys on the next one.